The closer we get to the end of 2023, the more the financial pressure is starting to mount for your local LGS. Some stores have already started to close, and some other stores are just not going to make it. No matter how bad you think it is, it can always get worse. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. A reminder, if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And unfortunately, I thought I was done making videos like this early in 2023 when we saw a few stores closed due to the pressure of 30th anniversary and just getting kicked in the teeth, and those stores called it quits. But looks like the attrition rate's going to get a little bit higher in 2023 because a few more stores are also going to close. These are smaller to mid-sized stores. They're bigger than the ones that closed earlier this year. They tried to hang in there hoping for a turnaround, and it looks like it didn't work out. So what happened? What went wrong? And why did these stores decide to close? Well, I reached out to them, and 2 out of 3 have answered back. 1 is in the US and 2 are in Canada. So the ones closing, 1 is in the US and 1 is in Canada, and 1 has not answered back at the time of filming, so I can't really do much about that. But the answers were actually simple, yet not simple. There's 2 sides to this. These stores have all had some cash flow issues. They're in smaller towns or smaller cities, depending on where they were located. I've been asked not to give out the actual stores yet because they haven't put up any postings saying anything to their local customer base, and they also want to get liquidation deals in place for when they actually announce it. Most of them are going to close right after Christmas rush. So end of December to early January, these 2 stores will both be done. The 3rd store, no idea yet. So what are we talking about when we talk about these stores? When you look at what the financial pressures are, it's not just on the store. And yes, that LGS has its own issues to contend with. They've got higher shipping costs when they want to move product back and forth from distribution to them. So just the overall shipping costs them more. Sending out letters and delivering packages to customers when they had their online, that costs them more because, you know, Canada Post and the US, it all costs just a little bit more. But all these little things, from increased hydro costs, increased water bills, internet bills, everything that you may pay for in a store, staffing costs, they've all gone up. Everything has changed a little bit, but all those little nickel and diming bits ate away at the profit margin, the end result. And the stores can't continue. They can't get by not feeding their own families. They hummed and hawed. They've talked to friends and family. In the case of one store, he actually liquidated some of his RSPs he had from his previous job just to see if he could kind of turn it around, and it's not going to work out. It's always a sad time. Neither of these stores are that bitter toward Wizards of the Coast or anything that went on. They recognize that as the economic climate they're living in, they understood that their customer base has been scaling back because they have their own financial issues to deal with, and it's just a cycle of the economy. So both these stores have decided to close it up. Now, I'm glad neither store was like really vindictive against any particular party. They're kind of sad, kind of sounded worn out. In the case of the emails, the kind of tone I got in the letters was kind of like, yeah, we made it go, we did the best we could, and it just didn't work out. And that happens. It's always kind of sad to see your dream, because that's what most LGS owners are, is their dream to open the shop. They had it as a hobby for whatever reason. It could be Warhammer 40K, it could be D&D, could be model miniatures, it could just be puzzles and just the idea of being part of that kind of community you loved as a kid. And to have that be crushed, it's devastating for some people. Other people just feel it's time to turn it in and give up and move on to something else in their lives, okay? Because don't forget, when you run an LGS store, most of the time you're part of the staffing. You don't really get vacations or breaks, and you're kind of there all the time. It can wear on you over a very long period of time, years in some cases, of not being sick or away if you can't afford enough help. It gets kind of crazy. You're always hoping to turn around, but it doesn't work out. So all those pressures. Not to mention that in the case of both stores, the leases were coming due and the rent was being increased because the owners of the buildings, they had increased property tax, they had increased hydro and heating costs. It cost them more. And there was repairs and stuff, so it's just sad. Now, as part of a cycle, though, of how we look at how our economy goes, there's been other bigger businesses closing down. I know here, they just announced yesterday here in Canada, Bad Boy, which is like a furniture place here, is closing down because, hey, people aren't buying as many houses. Things aren't happening the way they were, and they can't meet all their obligations on all their debt control. So with interest rates rising, they can't make the payments. So they got to close up shop. This is happening across the board. It's just another sign of the economic times that we're in. Unfortunately, it hits your LGS. And in the case of both these stores, small to mid-size, some of these smaller shops that close in the smaller towns. Then there's these mid-sized shops. If they can't make it in a small town or city, like a smaller city, and they close up, that means anyone who loves these hobbies has to travel further and further to get to an event, to get to purchase things, to talk to people directly if there's no communication when your LGS is gone. It can happen that way. It's kind of like your hub where everyone meets up and hangs out and discusses things that interest you, right? Which is Magic, which is Warhammer, which is whatever floats your boat in the hobby world. When a shop like these disappear, there's just one less focal point for people to gather at, and that's kind of sad. But as the cycle continues, as this market starts turning itself around years from now, although these stores closed and their dreams were crushed and lightly let down, what will happen is somebody else will take up the torch. Somebody else will have that dream and they will try to open a store. There's a lot of risk involved, let's face it. We've seen stores over the years close down and there's been lots of trouble after 30th anniversary for a lot of these places. Not to mention all the new outside pressure, but somebody is willing to take that risk. Somebody's going to take a chance and open a shop. And they're going to start small or start moderate. Maybe they have savings. Maybe they had a 6-figure income. They've been waiting decades to do this. Maybe they have enough cash to actually buy a building and make a real go out of it by renting different sections and then using the game store as kind of like their hobby retirement thing. There are people who plan these things out really well, and there's others who don't. But there's always going to be somebody who tries to pick up the hobby thinking they can make a better go out of it. They can make a better run with less mistakes and really profit doing it. That's the good news. But the problem with that is it doesn't mean it's going to be in your small town. When you have to look at the demographics and you have to see how many people live in the town, how big you think the gaming community is in that town, how many people do you personally know in the town if it's your own local town that play, all those things get taken into account. And most people I know who have tried to open stores never opened it in a town that already had a failure of a store. They went to a slightly bigger market 20, 30 minutes away. They moved to the next town over that maybe didn't have a gaming spot, so they knew they could draw some of that crowd from the failed store that crashed and maybe some of the new residents in the bigger town they're in. And that's the sad thing, is then those people have to go further away to get to those things. But as the market cycles, this happens. It feels like you're in a game of survivor. Survival of the fittest. Who can hang in the longest and make a go out of it? Because when that store closes, those people may still love Magic, love Warhammer, love D&D. They will be buying from another store. And when that happens, these smaller stores fail out, or stores that aren't as well equipped. And then what happens is that business gets diluted, but it gets sent to other areas of the market space. Again, those people have obviously trimmed their stuff. Like the customer base, sure, they're trimming their sales, but they're still looking for stuff. They're still buying things. They may not just be buying it in the quantity they were before. And if their local store is gone, they are going to buy it somewhere else, just like I have. My first couple of game shops closed down. I went to other stores to start buying things, and I made new relationships and met new friends, and that's the cycle of where we're at. Somebody's going to try later, but for now, some other stores get to kind of siphon off what some of this leftover business is. But it's still a sad day, because I know how it can be to have your local game shop close. I grew up in a small town, and not having that game shop there, and having to wait to go to Brampton, Ontario, to hit a store, or to come to Toronto an hour and a half away just to catch an event at 401 Games. That was crazy because, by the way, face-to-face wasn't in town when I was a teenager playing these tournaments, right? Going to the Pro Tour qualifiers, now you had to go out there to Toronto. You had to drive all that way and get some friends together to pitch in for gas. Kind of an exciting time, but it sucked when you wanted to just play some matches. We ended up going to our local library. Now, thankfully, a couple of years later, a new shop opened up in our town, which was great. And it only made it 5 years. It couldn't really hang in there either. It still was too tight of a market space in my small town to really make a go out of it. And that's what stores realize. They're looking for certain things. If they can't make it happen, they fail. It's not always their fault either. They may have trimmed everything to the max, but we know with those pressures, staffing, rent, internet, travel costs for you to get to and from your store, food costs, everything under the sun, including distribution, plus all the different game platforms you're going to carry at your LGS. I don't care if it's comics, graphic novels. I don't care. They all have costs. You all have to, stock the shelves. And when they go bare, you got to be able to restock them. You don't always have that cash flow. And that's what affects a lot of these stores. It stops them from doing business long run. They just can't make that long-term goal of sticking around for the 20-year mark to kind of really make a big go out of it, and that's a shame. I love to see success stories, and I always feel bad when a store that I supported kind of goes under and goes out of business, and that's just one of those, it's the cycle we live in, and it's a shame, but it's the way it's going to be. So I hope everyone takes a little bit of a nugget of information from this and understands that yes, it's the cycle. It's not always Wizards of the Coast. It's not always the distributor. Sometimes it's just outside pressures. Let's face it, even in Canada here, minimum wage and stuff went up again. And that put all kinds of pressures on other businesses I know. I have friends who have business and they're just like, dude, we're getting slammed. 30 employees make an extra couple of bucks an hour each, and I can't really raise my prices right now based on how everything's working. It's horrible, especially if you're in the food industry. Just nuts right now. Things can turn around as well. Look at CardSphere. It was going to close down. Now it got acquired by somebody else, and players are still going to be able to use that service. So although your local card shop may shut down, it may lose business, there will be another card shop that you can do business with. And maybe in the future, a new card shop will open. We have to always look at the bright side and hope for the best for the industry, for the hobby that we love and enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd love to see your comments here about your local store. How are things going? Do you hear anything? I mean, I've only got a network of about 42 stores, so I don't have like a worldwide thing. I know a lot of my viewers out there are from all over the place, so please take a few moments, put some comments in the comments section. Let me know how your local kind of format looks like. Is your store pretty busy? Are they doing okay? Have you talked to the owner? Do they say anything? Or has the unfortunate happened and you're one of the places out there that's lost its local LGS? I'd like to know that too. Thanks again, guys, for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Magic's an amazing game. Don't forget to bring a friend to Magic, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. Hey guys, a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons I have. The supporters of this channel that allow for daily created content are because of that support from my YouTube membership members. Thanks again, guys, for being there. Have an awesome day. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. It's actually good and timely. I took a break to refill the coffee, or to fill up the first time because I kind of forgot I got busy. First time coffee. You know what? It's not really the point, is it? I have coffee, and it's okay to have coffee at night. I need it. The third store got in contact with me, and I have a good news story. And we're here at the end of the video. If you made it this far, just put good news in the comments section, because you know what? Sometimes there's good news. That store reached out to its landlord, the guy who owned the building, and that person got back to them, and they renegotiated their lease agreement. So although the rent was going to go up, instead it is actually being decreased. I was not given the exact numbers, but he said that savings equals up to about a month and a half of free rent each year. This is a 5-year lease, to be reviewed though every year. So yeah, he's got it for 5 years. He wants to be a stickler, but the owner, wants to review it in case the market conditions change. Seems fair to me. And it turns out this owner of the building is like a retiree. Like, he owns the building. He has some rental units above it. He's got like 6 people renting apartments above, and he himself lives up there. So the storefront, yes, it generates income, but it's not the be all end all. And the owner of the store was really happy that this gets worked out this way. Yes, some repairs will have to be put off, some minor things they wanted done. The store owner thinks he can cover some of it himself, which is, the handyman nature. He'll try to fix some of it. But that means that store won't be closing, which is pretty awesome. It put a smile on my face to know sometimes good things can happen. Now, it's not in Canada. The store's in the States, but still, I'll take it with a smile. So, it gives me makes me want to go watch A Christmas Story right now. I love that movie. We're almost at the time. December 1st, the Christmas movies get broken out at the Moxman household. So, pretty awesome stuff. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Thanks for being here. Good news. I'll take it. Good news.